welcome to my giving up on books discussion thing. It's fine. So yeah, giving up on writing stuff, it's a weird place to be, but I think that at some point as authors you have to check in with yourself and acknowledge where your actions are not matching your dream of yourself and be like, okay, is this dream outdated? Did you actually give it up? Did you grow past it? And I think, as much as I hate to admit it, I kind of have. So for like the majority of my life, when I thought about writing books, I thought about writing fiction books. I occasionally get ideas for them and I'm like, ooh, I could do this or I could do that. But then, like, when it comes down to actually doing it, I hate the process. I hate every single part of it. I hate trying to figure out how to make, like, believable characters, good plots, subplots, to foreshadow enough, to have enough detail, to make the place feel alive, like, and then to hit all of the marketing strategy things. I don't like it. I like the end. I like having a story that I have written, but, like, I'm not actually passionate about it anymore. I remember being passionate about it. I remember being so excited. That's the only thing I wanted to do, was sit down and write and be in this world and be in these characters' heads and think about how they would do things. For years, I did that from, like, again, I remember really honing in on it in like 7th to 8th grade, and then all throughout middle school, high school for sure, and then tinkering with the story for like the majority of my working life now. At every job, I'd always be working on my plots and how to do this or how to do that and how to do it good. And I just, now that I've done 5 fiction books and I've been trying to work on this cozy mystery series, the reality is I sit down to write and I just don't want to. I just don't want to try to do this. It just is hard. And sometimes it's okay just to be like, you know what, this is a hard thing. And maybe I don't have to do it. And it's hard because I say that and then I instantly like start to rationalize like, oh sure you do, of course you do, why would you not, you of course mean that, and then inevitably when it comes down to like, put butt to chair, keys to, or fingers to keys, I don't want to. And I don't want to have to sit and think about the story and making sure my characters are believable and making sure I craft this beautiful tale. I just don't want to. And to be honest, looking at my sales for the past 10 years, because, oh yeah, I've been doing this for over 10 years now, that isn't working. And as wanting to do authoring as a job, the thing that pays the bills, you gotta also take into account what actually is selling, what's working for you. And the reality is that my fiction is not it at all. Last month was a weird fluke. I sold 2 of my 3rd book, which is like, I still haven't sold any of the 2nd, so where did that come from? That's weird, but okay. And like that was a fluke. I published that in like, I want to say like 23. It's 25. 2 years? And I finally sold 2 copies. That's not really worth the while. I think that was just a oopsie doopsie kind of an order, sort of a deal. Like, I don't know. It's weird. But I don't see the return on my fiction as much. And again, just sitting down to write, I don't want to. I want to sit down and work on my other books. And maybe that'll change, but like, I think there's just something about acknowledging of like, it maybe is more of a hobby to write fiction, but as a job, I need the one that's making the money, the one that I actually have the community and I'm excited to sit down and work on. And it is work, by the way. Writing isn't just for funsies. If it's a hobby for you, it's probably fun. But when you move out of, you have a day job and writing is for fun, and writing becomes the job, sometimes other things become the fun thing that you do on occasion. And that's kind of how I feel about fiction, because I get these ideas and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then I just don't care. Maybe I need to write like novellas, because like if I could write it in like 2 days, maybe that would be better. I don't know. I haven't really read that many novellas, so maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's just what I need to do. and rework it again? I don't know, but like I just am so tired of trying to come up with ideas and plots and like dragging the story out because I don't want to. I just want to get to the point, and like you can't do that in fiction. You can't get to the point. The point is the freaking long journey of like, it feels like you're watching molasses come out of a tree and you're like, oh my god, it's so slow. But as the reader, you're like, okay, cool, just vibing. But like as the author, like forcing yourself to slow down, I don't want to. And instead, when I come to my witchcraft books, all of the ideas are churning and I'm excited to work on it. And I'm like, okay, I can work it this way or this way. And like, it feels like you're like playing with clay and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna make this or this or this. And it's exciting and fun and I'm seeing it working. And I think that's one of the biggest things is, again, I'm doing this as a job. It is not for fun. It is, because I like what I do. But also at the end of the day, it is the thing that I'm trying to pay the bills with. Fun, just for the sake of fun, doesn't always pay the bills. And my witchcraft books are selling. I have a couple of them that every single month, I usually, at least every couple months, I'll get a sale. And so it's like, those are at least working. My fiction, typically, no. The first month I hit publish, and that's it. Could there be a change moving into cozy mystery? Maybe. I just don't know that I care. Like, I love the idea of it. And I remember being so excited to write all of these stories and have all of these characters. And now that I'm getting older, I'm like, do I care though? Because like, the day only has so many hours. And all of the things I want to accomplish, that's the one I don't want to do. I would rather go do laundry than do that. I would rather go vacuum the stairs than sit down and write a chapter for that book. Like, at some point you got to acknowledge where it's like, maybe it lives as a dream. And that dream is just something that just lives as is. And I think some of it is that when I tell people I'm an author, they expect you to write fiction, and being a witch and being a witchcraft author is weird. And so like you have this really awkward conversation of like, hey, so yeah, I do this thing. Like it's weird. But also that's what I'm excited about, and it's the thing that I like to do is work. And I like having my fiction as just for fun. And like I do have to have it as a goal on this channel to like actually force myself to read some books because I usually don't. But it's like forcing myself to have fun. So I don't think it's the end of the world. But I just don't know that writing fiction is the thing. And I can't completely bring myself to be like, oh, well, I'll just, because like I thought about like, oh, well, I'll just work on it for an hour every day and however much I get done. And then it's like that hour of the day came and I'm like, I just don't want to. I want to work on the other book. I think it's the better thing to work on. It's the thing that's probably going to make me money. And again, it's a job. You gotta do the thing that's going to bring me money. So it's like, I don't want to work on it. And like, I pulled up all of the documents and stuff and I was like, I don't even remember this. And reading through it, I'm like, eh. Like, again, maybe if I really shift gears and I learn how to write novellas and I make these short stories and I just make a like compilation of them, or I planned that my fiction books are gonna be these little pamphlet books where it's like 20 to 30,000 words, that's it, we're done. Maybe that would be a thing. But like, I don't know how to write those. I don't read those very often. So maybe that's the thing, it's just learning how to do that where I could get it done in like a week and be done and work on the edits. But where my cozy mystery, I was wanting it to be big. I've always wanted my fiction books to be big. I had that once with Crown of Darkness. That's my biggest book I've ever written. And I was so excited about that. And it felt so good. But again, that story I loved writing. I loved those characters. I loved that world. But like none of the other ones have felt that good ever since. And it's like, eh. Like it's hard to create an entire world every time, and I don't like to write contemporary. It's really boring. The real world is boring. And I think that's just the biggest thing is like maybe moving it into a smaller size would help. But also like if I'm gonna be spending a lot of time trying to write as many books as possible, and spending so much time on a book that I don't even know if it's going to be worth the while. Because that's the thing. I've hoped for 5 books that out of those 5, one of them is going to sell decently well. Not even like horrifically like, wow, I'm gonna go buy a house next week levels, but like, wow, this month I could go get a tank of gas after maybe withholding for tax, because I always plan like 50% towards tax, and then that's really overestimating how much you have to pay. But then you're not short. And so like that's just always how I planned it. And it's like, cool, I would love to be able to do that. I have never had a month like that yet. And definitely none from my fiction books. Ever. They really don't sell. I sell maybe 1 or 2. And so instead, I compare it to the 4 witchcraft books I've done and working on the next one. And those are kind of selling. They're not a lot by any means, but I am selling on a frequent basis. The same year I finished my trilogy, I published The Death Journey, which is my nonfiction book on handling death as a witch. And that one is doing kind of okay. I at least every month, every other month, I sell at least a copy. Some months I have a few copies sell. And then I have the same thing with Path of a Witch. Those 2 consistently I'm getting at least a sale. There's been a couple months where there's 0, but for the most part, if I'm gonna get a sale, it's one of those 2 books. Out of 9, those 2 are the ones that sell. These 5 very rarely do. Again, it was a weird fluke that they did. Otherwise, it's been like a year since I've really sold a fiction book. Pretty much when I hit publish, that's it. I might get a couple sales. And it's like, you know, for 2 months of work at least, is it worth it? These 4, they're doing good. They, you know, half at least is selling. So, you know, trying different things every month, trying a different topic. And it's something that I'm very engrossed into. It's been a hyper focus for so many years. Scarily enough, I'm closer to 2 decades now of doing that, where it's the only thing I can focus on, really. I can kind of focus on other things here and there, but ultimately I always come back to it. And so I think that's the thing, because it's like, you know, ever since I became a witch, I've always been studying it, always finding content for it. You know, I would watch videos and blogs and books and TV series and just anything I could get a hold of. And I've been doing that for almost 2 decades now. I'm getting old. Like, when I am 33, it will be 2 decades of being a witch. And that's a long time of life, if you think about it. 20 years. 20 years of it being a thing. I'm not there yet. I'm getting close, though. Like, I'm gonna be 29 this year. So it's a long time of always having witchcraft be my thing. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that maybe that's just what I do. That I tried fiction 5 times, it didn't work. But witchcraft, inevitably I feel like it's gonna work. And like maybe my Cozy Mystery series would be like the book to sell. Maybe. But there's so many fiction books out there. And it is so hard to fight your way through to make it work. And I kind of feel like as a witch, I feel like I'm kind of qualified a little bit in what I'm doing. Because I read a lot of books. Like, so far this year, I think I've read like 55 witchcraft related books this year. It's March like 4th already. So I've read a lot. I've got a lot more to read. All of these, by the way, except those 3 right there, all witchcraft. So like, I read a lot of those. I write a lot of those. And I think that's the thing, is just follow where the interest and where the money is at. So I've got all of the warnings on the camera now. Overheating, no space, it's over, we're done. That is enough rambling, I guess. But yeah, basically, I don't know that I'm forever giving up on fiction, but I think the fact that it's being so hard to sit down and write, I need to reevaluate it. Much like my other book, my Budget Witch book, also had to go on ice for a while this one I'm working on, the title is super much in the workings. I don't even know what to tell you. It's just a training book. That's all I got for you. Because it's a hot mess express, but it's going to be a big book. It's going to be a really big book. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be good. I'm very excited to work on it. I'm very passionate about it. And I always am coming back to witchcraft books to write. So go back to the thing that I want to actually do, and that's what we're going to do. So anyways, maybe one day I'll pick up on fiction again and I'll re-love it once more. But right now I'm just like, eh. It's just, I'm not as passionate about it as I am for my witchcraft books. So anyways, running out of space. It's gonna overheat. It's gonna be ending. So thank you. If you want to check out my books, they're always found on my blog down below. And until next time, check out my witchcraft channel where I talk about all of the books. It is always linked down below as well. And until next time, I will see y'all soon.